So Tad, are you a student here?
I'm not. I'm an alum. I went to NAU 2002 to 2006.
All right. What was your field of study and what do you do now?
Well, my field of study at NAU, I majored in Spanish. I minored in English. Now I do a number of things around town. I work with a ministry. I teach at a local school. I work at the local dive shop. So do what I need to do to make it in Flag.
So you've been around the campus of NAU, and what I've noticed in my research around the country that free speech is limited on college campuses. It's just not my observation. CNN, others, I'm going to move this cord because it's making noise. CNN recently published that article, and if you do a simple Google search about NAU, there are numbers of articles published about the oppression of free speech here at NAU. Have you ever experienced anything like that here?
Well, what's interesting is I think that NAU has changed a lot since I went to school in 2002 through 2006. So, for example, I had some arguments with professors. I had one professor in a Spanish class that had us all read the International Communist Hymn in Spanish, and then asked the class whether that wasn't just incredibly beautiful. And I was the one person that said, no, this seems to suggest that it's better to have food in your belly than thoughts in your head. And I think a lot of really important people would disagree with that. And I mean, he challenged me on that. I was kind of at a disadvantage because I was speaking a second language that I was learning. But the neat thing is that at that point is that another student actually stood up and backed me up. And we had a real debate in the class. So yes, it was the case at that point that the professor was really trying to push the students toward communism. But we didn't get thrown out. We didn't get censured in any way. And that's the area that I've really seen change. So I get to work with a lot of students in a number of my roles right now. And as I talk with students, I've seen two really disturbing trends. One trend is some students are still willing to speak out. So like we heard from Mark, heard from Kate and others, some students are willing to speak out. Almost never do they get backed up by another student in the class. You're usually all alone. But the second is, I talk to a lot of students who say, yeah, I know if I said something, it wouldn't be good. I feel like, in so many words, they say, I feel like it's just not safe to voice my opinion, so they keep their head down. And I talk to a lot more students who just keep their head down, who are from a conservative or a Christian or a Republican persuasion. A lot more students who just keep their head down because it's easier to get through. And I just don't think any student at an institution of higher learning where we're all adults should ever have to, I mean, hopefully they shouldn't feel that way. It's an institution. I guess an institution is free to decide what kind of culture they're going to craft. But then, you know, eventually people are free to decide if that's the kind of institution they really want to send their kids to or they want to go to themselves.
I appreciate your thoughts, Tad. Now, the NAU campus is funded by government money, Pell Grants, and so on. And I assume this is a institution where tenured professors work. Do you know the percentage of tenured professors here? And these instances of oppression of free speech, are they coming from tenured professors or all professors, or do you know?
I don't know. The stories that have come out recently, I believe, are of tenured professors. All the experiences I had where I felt like a particular viewpoint was really being pushed in maybe a negative way when I was in college were from tenured professors. But I've never done the research. I don't really know the statistics there. So.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your sharing those thoughts with us. And it's important that we, again, stand for what's right and protect our free speech, and don't be afraid. Don't hide in the corner. If enough students are standing up and not hiding, the faculty may play whack-a-mole, but if enough people start to stand up, you can start to turn the tide against the oppression of free speech on college campuses, and I'd encourage everyone to do so.
That was one of the things I'd like to share, given my experiences at NAU and I guess my vision of what an institution of higher learning should be. You know, I mean, we're sitting here under the First Amendment sign, obviously, for a symbolic purpose, and the First Amendment exists not just to protect one particular class. You know, in this case at NAU, I think it is the case that certain people of certain persuasions, generally Christian, generally Republican, generally conservative, seem to be experiencing either oppression or being silenced or being pushed out of a class more so than other groups. But with regards to free speech, I think the point of the First Amendment is, and the point of an institution of higher learning where you debate ideas, the point is everyone should be free. So if this was happening to the opposite side, if it was Christians and conservatives and Republicans who were quote unquote in power and said no one else can share their opinion, I think that in America, I think that an institution of higher learning, it would be just as bad. It would still stifle dialogue, stifle conversation. The key here is that we really should be where you can share your ideas, you can debate your ideas, you can get angry at other people for holding ideas and have that argument, but you shouldn't feel like there's certain things that are either against the law or against policy.
Well said, Ted. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for giving us your thoughts and sharing your time. Give him a round of applause.